My parents essentially said, "Hey, Nick, you can have anything you want in life as long as you can earn it because we're just trying to hold on here, you know?" And so I learned pretty young that if you could provide value to other people, they'd give you money. It didn't matter how old you were. I started teaching tennis lessons. I learned that if I could teach 10 kids at one time for $5, I could make $50 in a half an hour. I did a lot the things a lot of other people do in school, sold candy. I did a lot of different things. Went on to University of Florida, studied finance, uh, got my law degree, but never wanted to practice law. I really want to be in entertainment. I partnered up with my business partner who's 30 years older than me. I've always known that mentors are the secret to shortcuts. Success definitely leaves clues. And he and I tried to build an entertainment company, and he said, "Man, Nick, this is the hardest business I have ever been involved in." But essentially, at the time, he said, "Nick, if you did the same thing for entrepreneurs and professionals that you were doing for bands," which I was sort of creating their brands from scratch, helping them produce video, audio, whatever, said, You'd make a lot more money, you'd be happier." I said, "Sounds great." So we started on that path. We built what is now known as the Celebrity Branding Agency. We've served more than 3,000 clients in 63 countries across the globe, helping them build their platforms, their credibility, working on their media, marketing, PR. And then I did what any artistic person does when they start making money. I started spending it, doing what I wanted again, which is back into art. I started working on music again, started producing films, documentary films, and I think because of the lumps I had taken in the rest of my life, how difficult some other things were for me. Filmmaking really became team building. It's the easiest thing I feel like I've ever done. Now I have directed more than 60 documentaries, I think 40 something Emmy nominations, 22 wins. And now essentially we have our agency, that I have a team that runs the agency. I'm still involved, but I do maybe a couple hours a week with guiding the agency. And I spend 90% of my time, uh, in personal development and groups with you, Alan, doing things like Strategic Coach and Genius Network and some other networks I'm a part of, just growing, meeting, learning. And then and that's where I find stories too, by the way. And the rest of my time I spend, sharing stories of humanitarian efforts, nonprofits, and creating biographies.
I'd like to walk through a process that you do. Band comes to you and says, "Hey, Nick, we want to get known. We want to throw our brand out there." What is the process that you start with a group? How does this all come
Yeah,
about?
so the first thing they've got to do is that music has to be good. And so one of the things that I learned a long time ago when it happened to myself, I wrote my first song, and of course, that process of creating is challenging. It's adrenaline. But when you finish, you create something from nothing. I don't care. You could use an example whether you're a painter, a writer, a poet, a script writer, a book writer. You finish and you just gave birth to the world something that, in many cases you can't wait for the world to see. Sometimes you get just, you get sort of just discouraged, but for the most part, your very first one, when you finish it, you feel like it's done, you're ready to show the world. What you don't want to hear is the truth is that it probably sucks. It's probably not great. I mean, and I tell people when they come to me and I share with them honest feedback on a project, whether it's their first or their 10th, I'll say, "Hey, here's the deal. Don't be down. If I told you that first song, that first painting, that first script, that first poem was the best you were ever gonna do, would that be uplifting or depressing?" And everyone pretty much admits that'd be pretty depressing. That's exactly. So this is all about a journey. You're gonna get better. It's all about learning your weaknesses, exposing those warts, and getting better. So how about we just be honest with each other and I share with you, it's only one opinion, but it's my opinion. Writing, doing anything by yourself, Alan, and getting better at it is really, really difficult. The best way to get better is to surround yourself with people who are way better than you. Like me, I still songwrite a lot right now. I've had songs cut by some of the biggest artists in the world. In country, Lee Brice, Darius Rucker, most people know him from Hootie the Blowfish, and I have over 2 million streams on Spotify, and that's not a lot, but it's some people have listened, right? But I write with writers who are way better than me. I'm okay admitting it. I've taken my time refining my skill set and bringing other things to the table, different ideas, different connections. And I write with guys who write 2 songs a day every day. And I don't do that. There's no way I can get that good without doing it, but you get better by collaborating. So first thing I do is I typically try to help these bands collaborate with great writers, great producers, great photographers. Like, we have to compete in the marketplace. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try to be what everyone else is. Because if you try to create something that's blowing up right now on the radio or on Spotify or on the internet, that was probably started. I mean, the time frames are getting shorter with instant publishing, but it was probably at least started a couple months ago. So you're 2 months behind. So it's like, let's find your sound, let's find what's original, but let's find who you are. But let's do that with a team of experts that we are proven. We can experiment, but we know that they've gone within the boundaries of success. So the first thing I try to do is get them to collaborate with people who are great in every aspect of what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, we've got to compete in the marketplace for people's attention. And that attention is, if it's a band, you're competing with, whether you want to or not, you're competing with Coldplay or Kenny Chesney or Garth Brooks, people selling out stadiums. You're competing for attention. So should you try to be them? No. Should you try to beat them? Probably not. But how are you going to be different? How are you going to stand up alongside them? And that starts with, quality on, from A to Z. So we really start there and start looking at who would be, even though most bands hate being compared to someone else, it's sort of, I always ask the question, would you like your 75-year-old aunt to try to explain to someone, to her friends, grandson, what your band sounds like? No, you wouldn't. So you need to give them the language. You need to share with them who you are. Oh, we're sort of a mix between whatever, Garth Brooks and Coldplay, to use two examples. Whatever it is, like, you got to start finding a niche. You got to start finding, finding an audience, finding a voice, and a lot of that. There's no substitute for experience, but we sort of start at those things, Alan.
So in the branding field, it's mainly you're helping to write, introduce them to agencies or venues that can get messaging out. Is that a fair statement? Do you do a lot of video
Yeah, I mean,
there, Nick? Or
yes. So, it's interesting. I encourage everyone to do video. I do a fair amount of music, with as maybe 10 or 20% of what I do is music. And I still advise and guide up and coming acts. And of course, I mean, video, I mean, TikTok, all these things they're real, they're here. Um, on the business side and on the documentary side, I mean, that's our secret weapon. We're able to take human stories and make them emotional. And there's a couple things. Even when I approach celebrities, sometimes about telling their stories, a lot of times thankfully, most people are not narcissistic egomaniacs, so they don't go, "Yes, I've been waiting for." They're like, "I'm not sure I have a story that's worth telling." I'm not. That's a very typical response from an entrepreneur or a celebrity. And I have to stop and say, well, look, have you experienced ups, downs, things that you think other people could learn from? And of course, everyone says yes. So, well, great. Well, so let's reframe it. If we were telling your story to blow up your ego or as a puff piece, it wouldn't be worth telling. Nobody would care. But it's not about you. If we can make your story about other people and it's a learning experience where you can share what you have learned and help them to avoid some of your mistakes, teach them some of your shortcuts, and ultimately inspire them to do more and be better and make the world a better place, then would your story be worth telling? And they're like, oh, so one of the first things I tell people understand is that your story is really not about you, which is a really different way of looking at things. Typically, most people think it is normal. Well, it's all about me. It's sort of myopic. It's like, well, yeah, that's not that interesting. Well, no, it's not. Your story is about how you can transform other people's lives. And when you take it from that perspective, that's when it opens all the doors. And a lot of people are super self-conscious about it. And I tell them, look, when your ego is ready to step out of the way and you understand that what you have experienced is going to be valuable to other people, it doesn't matter if you're not a great speaker. It doesn't matter if you're not that eloquent. It doesn't matter if you don't love the way you look. It doesn't matter if you want to lose 30 pounds first. That all goes away. And all of a sudden you realize that your message is more important than your ego and you'll just start sharing it. And that's when you see the transformation really start to happen.
what was your first documentary that you did?
Um, I met a guy in an airport, uh, and I was looking for a story to tell. I really wanted to make a documentary. I wanted to try this art form, and I knew um, that a great story is where it started. Because look, the new technology 12 years ago, like DSLRs, like I'm actually using a second edition for my webcam now because these things are worth nothing, but they're great quality. So DSLRs and all the new technology, non-linear editing, Final Cut, iMovie, allowed people like me who didn't have millions of dollars to go make something. So I met a guy in the airport I saw a picture on his laptop of a little kid, baseball portrait. And I said, "Man, is that your son?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "This is a beautiful kid." He said, "Thank you. He has Down syndrome." I said, "Yeah, I have some cousins who do. I could recognize sort of the traits, but he looked so happy." We got to talking, and somehow he ended up asking me. I was doing entertainment work at the time. He told me about an auction they had in his area in Indiana for Down syndrome. So I sent him some celebrity memorabilia. I got Rascal Flatts to sign some stuff. I got some different acts I needed to do some stuff. And then I sent it to him, and a couple months later, he sent me a story his wife had written about his son's experience, his first season in a small town in Indiana called Floyd's Knobs, playing t-ball. They had two older children who were, who did not have Down syndrome. So they were concerned about putting their youngest son, their baby, who also happened to have Down syndrome, into baseball. And then the transformation and the journey from the coach to the players, and how and it just was a heartwarming story. And I read it and it brought tears to my eyes. And I said, "This is amazing." He said, "Hey, don't share it publicly, because it's going to come out in the newspaper in a week or so." I said, "Great." So it's coming out in the town's called Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. It was coming out in the, I don't know, the Floyd's Knobs Gazette, whatever, right? So limited audience. I forwarded it to my dad and my business partner, who were both about 30 years older than me. At the time, I don't even know they knew how to use email, but they both said back, "What a great story." And then they CC'd like 100 people. I'm like, "Oops, hey, nobody share this beyond this." But I realized, like, this was the start of something literally viral. It was a heartwarming story with a message that people wanted to share. I said, this is my story. So I didn't know how to do it. So I asked a lot of questions. So I went and I found people. Like, I had shot things before, I had edited things before, I had written stuff before, but I knew it was not my gift. I didn't wake up every morning going, "I gotta shoot something today. I gotta edit something today. I gotta write something today." Just not me. I always wake up going, "Man, I wanna learn and grow and meet new people and ask them questions." Like, that drives me. So, as you know, with Dan Sullivan, our mutual mentor's concept, unique ability, that's all I do. My unique ability is having meaningful conversations that lead to produced outcomes, and is all I do in front of the camera, behind the camera, on podcasts, with clients, whatever, right? With my team. So, I found people who were great at what they did, a great cinematographer, great editor, um, great writer, and I went out and I went to some of my clients and said, "Hey, if if I have been valuable to you, and if not, that's okay, but if I have, I'm gonna try to do this. Would you contribute with me? I'm not gonna allow you to invest because I don't know how this is gonna work. I will only allow you to contribute. And then when you contribute, here's what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna make you an executive producer on the film. I'm gonna let you come to a premiere. If we get a nomination for an Emmy, which I was angling for, I'll invite you to the Emmys. I'm gonna make it an experience for you." And I had enough clients who said, "Sure, we'll support you in that." And, I don't know who the real quote is from, but often attributed to Zig Ziglar. If you help enough other people get what they want, they'll be get you what you want. It was a classic case of that. We made it. It was a 7-minute short film. It made everybody cry. We raised some money for special needs kids. And I was nominated for 2 Emmys and won one of them. And so that sort of started my film career. Just another fun side story. I think the answers to what you're looking for in the world very often exist. It's not rocket science. And I literally Googled how to win an Emmy, and I followed the directions. And so that's what I was trying to do. And lo and behold, it worked. And so that was my first film. You can still see it at the website, jacobsturn.com. Heartwarming story about a little kid. We've gotten technically more proficient than then. We've gotten better equipment since then, but still a story that will stand the test of time.
Excellent. So, in addition to Jacob's story or Jacob's turn, um, the other documentaries, what's been the funnest one that you've worked on?
Oh my gosh, like, asked me to pick
Most
a favorite
memorable?
child. So I'm doing Dick Vitale's life story right now, which is mind blowing. I mean, I knew he was a legend in the world of college basketball, but I'm a pretty bad I'm a casual college basketball fan. I'm a Florida Gators fan, and when we're good, I watch. I'm like a really good college football fan. I watch a lot of games whether we're playing or not. But I really didn't understand how much he had impacted the game of basketball, and I didn't know his story of he has one eye. He coached. Uh, Middle school to the NBA 7-year journey to get from starting coaching in middle school to becoming a high school's back-to-back state championship coach, a college coach, and then an NBA coach. And then he got unceremoniously fired and started his real career, which is the last 40 years of broadcasting. He's done, I think, 18 Hall of Fames for it. That's been great. My story on Peter Diamandis, the founder of the X Prize, who created the first private space flight, was incredible. I did Rudy's documentary. Those of you who know the football movie Rudy. I did Larry King's life story. Was blessed enough to work with Larry and partner with him before he passed away. So there've been so many. Most what I think what's most memorable is most everyone I've gotten the opportunity to work with, and it's a laundry list by now, has been really good people, really kind, really nice people, and I'm super thankful for that.
Typical distribution for the documentaries? Are you using Netflix or other
We've
media
had stuff we've
sources,
had
or
stuff on
how do you
we've had stuff on
typically?
Netflix, we've had stuff on Amazon Prime. This Dick Vitale documentary, I can't name it yet. People could probably guess, but just sold it to a very large sports network. So distribution is a funny thing, and so I'll tell you this. I have chosen to not allow, like most people pitch a film and then try to get funding and then go make it. I've been really blessed. I've had clients that have done the same thing over and over. I've never allowed a single investment in my films, only contributions and great journeys and great value to those who are willing to step up and help support what I'm doing. And I have, I have never wanted to allow a network or a streaming company to decide what stories that I want to tell. So I go tell them anyway, and I see where they belong. If someone thinks they belong, there's politics, there's whatever. At a Netflix, great, it'll end up there. If not, there's plenty of other outlets. I mean, the beauty of the world we live in now, there's a lot of self-serve platforms. Microsoft has one, Apple has one, Amazon has one. I mean, YouTube is the greatest distribution in the world and with the touch of a button. So yes, I have had films on the bigger platforms. They don't always end up there, and I'm okay with that. If I make a film that makes one person reconsider suicide or donate $10 to stopping human trafficking, it's worth the time to me.
So, Nick, how does a person go about contacting you?
You can find me at pretty much all the socials at Nick Nanton. Just my name. If you spell it right, it's all ends as in Nick. At Nick Nanton, and then nicknanton.com. You can sign up to sort of follow along with what we're doing. Yeah, and that's how people find me.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on today's show. It's been fun visiting with you. And for the listeners, we'll have posted in the interview the link to Nick's website, and also, can they find other documentaries that you've done on that site?
Yeah, they can, and most of my stuff is on Amazon. And if you check like IMDb, Internet Movie Database, you can see a list of what's out as well as what's upcoming.